First, I need to clear up a misconception before we go any further. A possible misconception at that, at least. On Gwen's Q, it says that on the center of each strike, it deals true damage and applies 1,000 cuts to enemies hit. 1,000 cuts is her passive, dealing a percentage of the enemy's max health in magic damage on hit. So the question is 1,000 cuts applied with Q center true damage? No, it is not. If we were to take our target dummy to the top right here and we were to hit it with a Q, 105. Now what if we raise its health? This should in theory raise the percentage damage of the Q, because now you're doing more true damage. If it's percentage max health damage, that damage should go up, so the true damage number should go up. 105. Didn't change. So if that's something you didn't know about because it might not be that clear in the descriptions, now you know. So that leads to the question. This means that 1,000 cuts is always going to be magic damage. Its ratio isn't the best, of course, because it's such a powerful effect and applies so often. So should you build magic penetration to scale it, or is that a waste of time? Here we have 3 target dummies. One has 1,500 health and 30 magic resistance. They also have 30 armor because you can only change both resistances at once. This is going to simulate your average squishy AD carry. In the middle we have 2,000 health, 100 magic resist to emulate your typical bruiser, and then we have 200 magic resist Giga Chad tank. We're going to keep the health the same between these two, so we can really emphasize the magic penetration and the magic resistance. This dummy to the top right is just going to allow us to stack E, or Q rather, without any kind of damage number changes over here. First of all, let's stack a Q and cast it on all of these enemies and see if it is improved by Sock Shoes. Using this, we can also see just how much damage is reduced by the magic resist. The damage is only reduced by literally 29 by having 200 magic resist versus having 30. This is including how these have higher health than our 1500 HP AD carry dummy, and so should be taking more damage from the passive. Let's try with Sorcerer's Shoes. Sorcerer's Shoes alone, and only on true damage Q, received a benefit of 3 damage against our Giga Chad opponent. So you can see the Sorc Shoes really aren't doing much, at least not with anything else, and definitely not with Q. So you might be thinking, well clearly it's going to have more benefit on things like auto attacks, ultimate, and things that aren't the true damage on Q. Let's do the same thing with 4 auto attacks using E and needlework. We'll also use Q when it is fully stacked. That's so it is more like an actual Gwen combo, but easy to control. But for now, with no AP. You can see the magic resist doing a lot to all of this. Despite having a lot of passive procs on these higher HP targets, the damage is actually being reduced quite a bit. Let's first try a Sorcerer's Shoes. Again, the flat magic pen not really doing too much. It does a bit more to our left target dummy here, but now let's try real items. Nash's Tooth I think is one of the best items you can buy early. We're going to try Nash's Tooth with the same combo against all 3 of these dummies, and then we're going to try adding a Sorcerer's Shoes to see how that works out. Now with the Sorcerer's Shoes. Big difference when we're halving the magic resist. Fairly big for 1100 gold. About almost 100 extra damage on our 100 magic resist 2000 HP. And a bit more negligible damage on our high magic resist target. Try a Void Staff. Void Staff is cheaper by 200 gold compared to Nash's Tooth. Let's see what it's doing. As you can see, the tanky target only had the damage increased by 50 when using a Void Staff. This was in comparison 1-to-1 with a Nash's Tooth, which is one of the best items I think you can buy in Gwen. So it might be a small increase for now, but that can easily get bigger with more items. As you can see here, Void Staff is helping a lot with ultimate. But if you see, Gwen's ult cooldown starts from 111, and that's with us having 8 ability haste. It has a total AP ratio of 72% plus whatever you get with 1000 cuts, which isn't the greatest kind of ratio for an ultimate, meaning it should be receiving decent benefit from using magic penetration. But what about the rest of Gwen's kit? E, 15%, the same as a Nash's Tooth. Actually, Nash's was buffed. Same as old Nash's Tooth. And Q has a 50% AP ratio, and that AP ratio turns true in the center. Also applies 1000 cuts. So should you be buying Magic Pen? Is it worth it without Ultimate? Ultimate is easily the greatest source of passive spam available to Gwen, as it should be, it's her ultimate. But it's not up all the time. And of course, buying things like Void Staff, Nash's Tooth, Sorcerer's Shoes, these are all items that are very squishy, very luxurious on a pure melee champion like Gwen. Let's do a test that doesn't use ultimate. We're going to do 4 auto attacks and Q in the center. Let's start with Nash's Tooth. Now again, let's buy a Sorcerer's Shoes. The leftmost one is going to have its magic resist halved, which should create the most difference. Actually very little difference throughout them. Let's do a little bit more of a sophisticated test by comparing gold value. We're going to keep the Nash's Tooth, but here you could spend 2,800 on Void Staff, or you could spend about 2,500 on 2 needlessly large rods, which you probably wouldn't, but we're going to do this to test if AP or magic penetration is better for the gold. We could also go for 2,900 gold, 2,935 gold using Amplifying Tone, which is a little closer, but that goes over, and with my hypothesis in mind, I reckon we're going to like the AP more. Let's start with Void Staff. Using these will boost her AP ratio of her passive, her Q, E, and R. So this is increasing the damage dealt, this is increasing the true damage more, by giving us 40 more AP than we would have with Void Staff, is that right? Oh god, way more than 40. And let's see if the damage numbers are increased. As you can see, the damage numbers definitely increase on the less tanky enemies. But although we're increasing our true damage, the Void Staff did end up winning against the 200 magic resist opponent, even on just E's and Q's. If we were just doing Q, there is no doubt in my mind that AP would win. But again, we have to think of opportunity cost here. It's well and good putting damage numbers together and making a conclusion, but other items like Cosmic Drive, even Lichbane, may have more utility than something like Void Staff. Buying an Azonius Hourglass can help you survive for longer, allowing you to do more damage over time. Even something like Sunfire could do more damage over time. Here are our damage numbers, done again with Nash's Void Staff. I'm now going to test something that might shock you. want to exhaust the Blade King passive first. And try it without the passive. Amazingly, the passive doesn't make that much difference. So if you are up against Giga Chad high magic resist enemies, is the option Void Staff? Or is the option to just diversify your damage type? Gwen is more than capable of building AD, and in such a freak scenario, which is quite rare nowadays especially, do you really need magic penetration at all? I don't really think so. There could be a chance that you might want Sorcerer's Shoes if you're the main source of AP damage, and enemies are building things like Sunfire that have hybrid armor and magic resistance, or maybe enemies like Galio who have magic resistance anyway, I think. Living longer, playing better and landing true damage, and even diversifying from AP entirely is going to do you better to get through enemy magic resist than buying something like Void Staff, Sorcerer's Shoes, or Shadow Flame will. I've done some tests separately that did test Shadow Flame, but in retrospect they're quite pointless. Simply testing an Ashes Tooth with and without Sorcerer's Shoes is much more fair. There is a difference, it isn't that there isn't one, but I have no doubt in my mind, just through some logic and theory crafting, that just building another AP item with more utility or more survivability is going to be significantly better than buying something like Void Staff. Only if you're on a full AP team should you consider buying Void Staff. Void Staff is squishy, it'll have the same issue as building Blade of the Ruined King, which we just demonstrated does more damage. Now, Blade of the Ruined King is not going to do more damage with ultimate, so if you are the dedicated tank shredder and you are saving your ultimate for tanks, let's say that there is a Juggernaut who is really fed, like a Mordekaiser, maybe not Mordekaiser because of Death Realm, but someone like Set, Darius, Garen that's just destroying your fed AD carry every time and you can't win team fights because you don't have an AD carry, then maybe in such an instance you want to save your ultimate and you want to buy a Void Staff to get the most value out of it. However, most of the time on Gwen you are not using your ultimate. You are using mostly your E. More than anything else you are using E. Second most you're using Q. And of course you're using passive all the time, so W can dodge things, but it can't dodge everything. It cannot dodge on anything within the zone, and it has a high cooldown. This is at 13 seconds, only because we have 8 ability haste and it's level 5. You max Hallowed Mist last, so this is almost always going to be on cooldown when you need it the most. Therefore, buying survivability on Gwen is actually a really good option, particularly in solo queue when no one's going to help lock people down for your queue, no one's going to help you, no one's going to support you. You can't rely on these things, you're not going to have a pocket Yumi. Therefore, being able to play a tankier Gwen, getting more Qs out with ability haste, keeping your E up by maxing it, having more ability haste, and of course surviving long enough to get multiple E's, multiple Qs out, will probably do you a lot better than forcing a Void Staff down the enemy's throat. Again, unless they are some super high priority fed tank, which sounds like a recipe for disaster in itself, but at least Gwen can deal with it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you like this kind of thing. I've seen some positive feedback on the casting video, and I'd like to do more of these because they're fun and they help me develop builds. This was a topic I wanted to explore a little bit, and I kind of knew the answer in my head, but it is good to confirm. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe as it really helps out the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.